What's up everybody, William2K here, and today we will be filling this room. Now between episodes, I went ahead and made this room, and also went ahead and moved our smeltery down to another room as well. I moved the teleporter from upstairs and cleaned it up a little bit. So up here, all we have left is just a few things, our machines, these gadgets, our crushing wheel, and this system, which we've yet to move, but that will be what we're working on today. Now between episodes, I also went through and I looked at a lot of the things that we want to automate. I want to go ahead and automate bamboo, kelp, sugarcane, and cactus and include that in. And I also want to go ahead and automate all the dyes. Now Botania has a very easy way, and using that with hopper botany pots will really be the most simple method. We could use Botania and use there's a flower in Botania that uses mana to generate these flowers around it, and we could harvest it, but honestly I just want to go ahead and continue on with the pack, especially with EMC. Something this simple would be a better solution. We're also going to set up the crushing wheels and fans with water to automate a little bit of resources, and I also took some time to get a whole bunch of chickens. And these are not just any chickens, but they're growth 10, gain 10, strength 10 chickens, even all the way up to netherite. And when I tell you these things are fast, these things are quick. So we're going to include those in our automation as well. Speaking of chickens, I took the liberty to go ahead and get some seeds and to show you how exactly they work. So obviously we know we can put 2 chickens in the breeder and they will make what we want. However, if we put 2 of the same chicken in the breeder, so right now we're using cocoa brown chickens with some seeds, then we'll see the bar tick up. Even though these don't have a combination in REI, such as glowstone and cocoa equals netherwort, we can still breed 2 of the same chicken together. After waiting a little bit of time, we can see that our chicken is here, and now this one is a growth 2, gain 3, strength 2. And so we would just go ahead, swap him in for one of the 1-1s and continue this process. So we run through this process 10 or so times, maybe even 15, and eventually we'll have our 10-10-10 chicken. Just wanted to give a little quick refresher on how chickens work, as it's a different mod and not a lot of people are used to it. So back to this room over here. So this room was designed under the idea that I would have plenty of space to put crushing wheels, fans with water, and also an igneous extruder to make deep slate, which when we crush it, we get uranite and uranium. Uraninite. We get uraninite. Uraninite, specifically, we can smelt down and then use to make reactors. And not just any reactors, but power reactors, which happens to be, well, as you can see, max extract 2 million FE per tick. They happen to be some of the best reactors in the game, as they're safe, have no risk of blowing up, and take up very little space. So we'll also be setting up deep slate down here, and next episode, using those to, well, power our base. So let's get started, shall we? As a quick refresher, if we use this floral fertilizer on grass, it will go ahead and grow some of these flowers. And that's how we will be gaining the flowers to make our infinite dye system. While doing the farm, I happened to check the quest book and noticed there was a quest that we could complete with a storage controller and linking tool to get some ender drawers, so I figured we'd go ahead and claim that and leave the other quest to later. But these 2 ender drawers would certainly get us a jump start on the farm, as I wanted to use a few of these. We will have to craft a few more, but these first 2 will definitely get us started. And we are back. Man, that took a while. So this is our new smelter room. Not sure if we've been in here yet, but that's how I revamped that room. And so let's get started with our little tour. In here, we have our grindstone gravel, our washer gravel, our washer sand, and our washer dust. Now, these drawers haven't been upgraded yet, so they don't really have a lot of space. So that's on the to-do list. Over here, we have our chickens. Anything from redstone, glowstone, even here some gas tiers or maybe some blaze. And in each of these, we have a puller upgrade to pull from these hen houses on the top to get the resources in. They could definitely be a bit faster. I would say it's slow compared to the amount of resource production, but as we don't have upgrades for the drawers, I'm not too worried about it for now. Our next farm is our flour and dye farm. Now, for example, on this end here, we have our white mystical flour. The white mystical flour is extracted from the system. It is put through this laser down the line into our storage controller. It then ends up in its respective drawer. And then from the drawer, it travels back along the system through the storage controller into the crafter below where the flour is being grown. And here we turn one flour into 2 mystical white petals and those petals into dye. After the dye is created, it travels back along the line into the drawer below it. And this is the same for all of the flowers. So we end up with all 16 dyes from the game. Now, the next thing that you might ask is what happens with all this space? And well, it will continue to craft until the drawers fill up, and then it will back stuff into the crafters, into those empty slots. This might not be ideal, but as we don't particularly need lots of dye instantly, it's not a huge deal. The other farm we have over here is for our standard plants that we had going up above. This is just a standard botany pot on top of a drawer. Now our storage controller is behind this pillar here. It allows us to interface with it directly. And here is the star of the show. This is the system that actually makes our gravel, sand, and dust and ends up actually grinding it and washing it. These cobblestone generators are what makes the cobblestone. They're the tier 4, which is gold, and honestly, they could be a bit quicker, but they're still making it at a relatively decent rate. So what happens is they export into the chest above. We use the laser here to send them to this compacting drawer. In the compacting drawer, we store it and turn it into 1x and then 2x. This 2x is then sent into one of these 4 other laser nodes out here. As we can see, we have one for sand, which is down here on the end. Then the one I'm standing on here is for dust, and the other 2 are for gravel. Now, after we turn it into the next resource, such as gravel in this case, we are sending it into these ender drawers directly. But for the other ones, such as the dust and the sand, instead our second laser node that we take for the extracting sends it to these compacting drawers. These compacting drawers then again with the gravel turns it into 1x then 2x gravel, sends it back through, and here that turns into sand and then dust and so forth and so on, and the system continues. Finally, we end up with our final products in our ender drawers. So we have our sand, our dust, and our gravel all collecting here. Then once we have it collected, the ender drawers take care of sending it to the individual systems. Here we have gravel coming out onto a conveyor belt with crushers that are being powered by this electric motor. It travels along the belt into these crushing wheels and eventually into the storage components to the left. Right now we're outputting 64 at a time here to make sure we're crushing the maximum, and no need for a filter on this side because, well, the only things that can make it through are after crushed. Here we have 3 duplicate setups of water wheels powering these fans with water. When we turn on the system, it will drop about 8 at a time to be washed, and once they're washed, they will feed into the barrel. The pressure plate doesn't particularly serve a purpose, but we do have all the items collect here, and the filter takes care of filtering out only the resources we want inside. Here we have the same system for sand and dust as well. It's just been duplicated 3 times for each of the resources that we need. And inside of our filter, we have sand on the deny list, for example, so that only non-sand resources can make it through. Then out here, we can see all 4 of our drawer networks. For example, here we have our iron going into a compacting drawer, emeralds, diamonds, etc. Now we are making emeralds and diamonds, even redstone over here, and we could link it with an ender drawer eventually, but I don't really see much of a problem at the moment, as both of these systems will eventually be connected and we don't have to worry. The next thing that we've been working on is slowly closing up this area. As we can see, a lot of it's been filled in with cobblestone, and, well, all that remains is this chest down a hallway and a few of the other things. We happen to get a couple cows in here, and a rabbit, but that is all. Now, the only other thing in here is our mechanism stuff and our create beginning machines. These will all go eventually, but at the moment, we don't really have a new place for it, so it's going to stay there for now. Our next step is the igneous extruder. Now, the igneous extruder takes a resource called Constantine and a couple normal resources. We also are going to need to make our deep slate is magma blocks as well as packed ice. Now, magma blocks aren't really much of an issue, and neither is the lava here, but the compact ice poses a little bit more of an issue. The packed ice requires us to, well, find ice. And after looking through some of the settings, the one that I like the most for getting ice is actually the entropy manipulator. This we can shift right click on water and turn it into ice. So we'll be going through this method. And after we craft this energy cell, that should be the last thing, and there is our entropy manipulator. Charging up the rod really quickly. We have also figured out that we will need the Silk Touch upgrade on some sort of tool. The mining gadget seems to be the most direct route, as we can craft the Silk Touch upgrade, as well as a standard mining gun to put this upgrade on in order to harvest the ice after we are able to convert the water to ice with the entropy manipulator. And there is our Silk Touch upgrade, and there is our mining gadget Mark III. Now all we need is this station to put the upgrade into the gun. So we place that down, throw the gun inside, and just put the upgrade inside. After charging up our mining gadget quickly, we then take some of these water eggs and make a little infinite water stream. We take our entropy manipulator and start to convert some of this water into ice. After converting most of it, we can then use our mining gadget to harvest the ice, just like this. We've split the ice up into two separate stacks, one of 16 and one of 23. We are just going to go ahead and throw it in the bulk washing, and this is a very easy way to turn it into packed ice. So now that we have our 16 packed ice, we can continue making our igneous extruder. The other steps are to get Invar and also get that Constantine that we talked about earlier. To do this, we are actually going to use the smelter. We just have to combine a little bit of copper and nickel in our smelter, and we should be able to get it going. The other thing that we're going to need is Invar, so we just so happen to have a little bit of iron in there already. So let's empty out this gold, and with the iron, we can combine it with nickel and get our Invar. And the other recipe is to combine the nickel and the copper to get Constantine. A little bit later, we have our molten Constantine and our molten Invar, 8 blocks and 5 blocks respectively. After pulling that out, we are able to craft our 8 Constantine gears, as well as our 8 igneous extruders. The only last step is to maybe make some of these upgrade kits, as this allows them to produce twice as fast. So 8 hardened integral components later, and we are good to go. Well, guys, it seems as if I made an oops. A little bit of the footage got corrupt, so we missed the last little bit of the episode. However, let me run you through what has happened. So we're now making uraninite and uranium with our system that we set up back here. As we just saw, we have all these lasers feeding into here, this auto hammer into this ender drawer, and those running along here into these crushing wheels and out to make the uraninite. Granted, this system could be improved. We could pump more power into this motor or even make 2 or 3 more of these to increase our flow, but at the moment that's not a huge issue. Another thing that we did is we ran ME cable for an applied energistic system. Here we have our smart cable running all the way through underground. Let me come back up and seal this back up. But so that has been ran under the ground and has been connected to all of our storage controllers in this room. So not only are we all wired up, but we are ready to go. Down here, we've started running it towards main base, and we have a little quartz fiber cable here to run power to this controller. For those of you unfamiliar with applied energistics, this will make what is called a subnet. A subnet you can put another group of devices on, and this controller here is able to supply more channels. As this big one can supply 32. Right now we're just going to connect it here and get another whole bunch of channels for this room. Not wanting to end up keeping myself from expanding in the future. Later this will run all the way through here. We might run it down in the smeltery, of course up to there, and to our big AE system that we will start on next episode. Apart from that, we did move the chickens, so now we have one big chicken wall, and we also added iron production in, as that was a little bit of an issue. And everything else is just functioning. We have almost 300 dye, and all of them except the black, which seems to be causing a couple issues, which we will get to the bottom of after the episode is over. But other than that, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned a little bit too. But have a good one.